Hello, students in grade 5 or students in Prathom 5. How are you doing today? Are you doing good? Great, very well. Okay, good boys, good girls. Today you are learning with Teacher 80. Teacher 80. And today we're gonna review the lesson that we have learned. We're gonna do the revision of the unit 4, force and its effect. Force and its effect. Alright, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Force and its effects. Look at the car. Elsa is trying to push the car to the right side. She keeps pushing it forward and forward. So, the car is moving because there is something called force. Force. Can you spell it together, please? 1, 2, 3, go. F-O-R-C-E. Force. And the unit used in measuring force is Newton. Newton. Again, the unit used in measuring force is Newton. Very good. And force is okay, I'm sorry. Force is divided into two types. Force is divided into two types. The number 1 is resultant force, and number 2 is frictional force, Again, force is divided into two types. Number 1 is very good, and number 2 is excellent. Let's start with the resultant force. Okay. Two forces acting in the same direction. The resultant force will be in the same direction. Same direction. For example, Harry Potter is pushing a car to the right with 5 Newton, and Superwoman is pushing a car to the right side with 10 Newton. So, the car is moving to the right. Next, Ariel is pushing the box to the left with 5 Newton, and Elsa is pushing the box to the left with 10 Newton. So, the box is moving to the left. Very good, students. Next, two forces acting in the opposite direction. Again, two forces acting in the opposite direction. If two forces are equal, the resultant force is 0. The object is not moving. If two forces are equal, the resultant force is 0 and the object is not moving. For example, Superwoman is pulling a car with 5 Newton, and Harry Potter is pulling a car with 5 Newton. So, where is the car moving? Of course, the car is not moving because the resultant forces are equal. The forces are equal, so the resultant force is 0 and the car is not moving. Next. Superwoman is pulling a car with 10 Newton and Harry Potter is pulling a car with 5 Newton. So, please remember that the object will move to the larger size of forces. For example, Look at this one again. Where is the car moving? What do you think? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Of course, the car. The car is moving to the left. The car is moving to the left because the object will move to the larger size of forces. Alright, next. Ariel is pulling a car with 15 Newton and Elsa is pulling a car with 20 Newton. So where is the car moving? Very good. The car is moving to the right. Alright, next. Look at this. Where is the box moving? Where is the box moving? Excellent. The box is moving to the left. Where is the box moving? Good job. The box is moving to the right. Again, force is divided into two types. Number 1 is resultant force and number 2 is frictional force. And we're going to be learning the frictional forces. Frictional forces. Okay, look at this. Can you see? The boy is trying to push the sofa. He's pushing the sofa. Look at this one again. Okay, can you see the man? He's pushing the box. He's pushing the box to the right. But the friction, can you see the friction down below? The friction is going against the pushing force. The friction is going against the pushing force. As you can see. Look at this again. Again, if you push the box with the force, with the pushing force, and the friction is going against the pushing force, as you can see. Look at the picture again. So, the frictional force or friction is the opposite force that is against the movement of the subject. The opposite force that is against the movement of the object. Look at the picture again. The boy is pushing the box to the right and the friction is going to the left. Can you see? The friction is the opposite force that is against the movement of the box. Alright, understand? Okay. How can friction happen? Look at the picture. Okay, look at the picture. The man is trying to move the door. He's trying to move the door to the right. But the force of friction is going to the left. So, frictional force or friction happens when you make the object move as two objects rub against each other. Two objects rub against each other. Okay, and there are two main types of frictional forces. Number 1, types of surface. Number 2, the weight of the objects. So there are two main types of frictional forces. Number 1, types of surface. Number 2, the weight of the objects. And both of them can affect the size of the frictional forces. Next. Number 1, types of surface. There are two types of surface. As you can see, look at the pictures, please. Surface. Okay. Number 1, rough surface. And number 2, smooth surface. Again, there are two types of surface. Number 1 is very good. And number 2 is excellent. Rough and smooth. Rough surface. Look at the pictures. If the rough surface is rough and dry, it has more friction. So the rougher the surface is, the larger the friction is. Again, if the surface is rough and dry, it has more friction. Okay, next. Number 2, smooth surface. Smooth surface. Look at the pictures. If the surface is smooth, it has smaller size of friction. Again, if the surface is smooth, it has smaller size of friction. Smooth is less friction. Again, there are 2 types of surfaces. Number 1, smooth surface. Number 2, rough surface. Look at this picture. What type of surface is it? This is the envelope. What is the type of the surface? It is smooth. Again, it is smooth. What type of surface is it? This is a coral. It is rough. It is rough. The stones. What type of surface is it? Very good. It is rough. Excellent. Good boys, good girls. Next. The table. What type of surface is it? It is. Good job. It is smooth. The mirror. What type of surface is it? It is smooth. Very good. Okay, next. So again, there are 2 main types of frictional forces. Okay, now number 2, the weight of the object. Okay, look at the pictures. This is the weight of the object, whether it is heavy or light. Okay, 2 types of the weight. Number 1, heavy. Number 2, light. The heavier object makes more friction than the lighter object. Again, the heavier object makes more friction than the lighter object. Heavy is more friction. Now, light. The lighter object makes less friction than the heavier object. Light is less friction. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, heavy is more friction. And light is less friction. Very good. Okay, next. Let's practice. Look at the tennis and the feather. The tennis ball is heavier than the feather. And the feather is lighter than the tennis ball. Excellent. Next. What happens when the object moves on the smooth surface? The object moves faster on the smooth surface because the size of friction is smaller. Again, the object moves faster on the smooth surface because the size of friction is smaller. Excellent. Next. What happens when the object moves on the rough surface? on the rough surface. Look at the picture. This is the rough surface. So the object moves slower on the rough surface because the size of friction is larger. Again, the object moves slower on the rough surface because the size of friction is larger. Very good, very good. Okay. Next. What happens when the heavy object moves? Heavy object. Ooh, look at the video. They are trying to move something. It is very heavy. It looks very heavy, right? So, the heavy object moves slower because the size of friction is larger in the heavy object. Again, the heavy object moves slower because the size of friction is larger in the heavy object. Very good. Okay, next. What happens when the light object moves? The light object. Look at this. Oh, the dog is taking something, right? It looks very light. It's a lightweight, right? So, the light object moves faster because the size of friction is smaller in the light object. Again, please. The light object moves faster because the size of friction is smaller in the light object. Excellent. Okay, next. Again, there are two factors of friction. Okay, advantage of friction. The advantages of friction. And number 2, disadvantages of friction. Again, number 1, advantage of friction. Number 2, disadvantage of friction. Alright, let's start with the advantage. Okay, the advantages of friction. Advantage mean it's good, it's useful for your life, so you can take advantage of it. It's good, it's useful. Good and useful, okay. For examples, the advantages of friction. 1. For designing shoes for sportsmen. Designing shoes for sportsmen. Look at the picture. Look at the pictures. Alright, next. Number 2, putting ladder leaning against the wall. Putting ladder leaning against the wall. Look at the pictures. Goes up. Alright, next. Number 3, stopping fast running cars. Stopping fast running cars. Alright, this is the advantages of friction. Number 4, holding a pencil. Holding a pencil. Excellent. Next. Number 5, applying the brakes for making vehicles slow down and stop. Applying the brakes for making vehicles slow down and stop. Okay. Number 6, walking on ice or a slippery road. Again, walking on ice or a slippery road. Excellent. Next. Number 7, holding a nail. Holding a nail. Look at the picture. Look at the picture. Okay, next, the disadvantages of friction. Disadvantages of friction. What do you mean by disadvantage? Disadvantage means bad, it is not useful. It's bad, it's a trouble. So it is a disadvantage. Look at the pictures. Oh my god, I'm not happy. It's very heavy. Okay, for examples of the disadvantages of fiction. Disadvantages. Number 1. The ship engines work harder as the waves are stronger. Look at the pictures. The ship engines work harder as the waves are stronger. This is the disadvantage. This is the disadvantage of fiction. Disadvantage of fiction. Number 2. Moving heavy things needs a lot of forces as there is so much friction. Right. Again, moving heavy things needs a lot of forces as there is so much friction. Excellent. So, again, there are two factors of friction. Number 1, advantages of friction. Number 2, disadvantages of friction. The advantages of friction. Number 1, shoes for sportsmen. 2, ladder. 3, stop fast running cars. 4, holding pencils. 5, applying the brakes. 6, walking on ice or slippery road. 7, holding a nail. Excellent. Next. Now, the disadvantages of friction. Disadvantages. Number 1, the ship engines work harder. The ship engines work harder. Number 2, moving heavy things. Moving heavy things needs a lot of friction because there is so much friction. Alright. Next. Okay, so this is all for today. I hope you guys really enjoy learning with Teacher 80. So thank you so much for joining the class today. And don't forget, listen to Teacher 80. Don't forget to do the exercise after class. Alright. So, thank you so much. It's time to say goodbye. See you again next time, students. Goodbye.